Democrats may need to recognize that Zoran Mamdani represents one possible direction for their party, though some argue it resembles the path of the Republican Party, and if you missed his New York mayoral victory speech, you'll likely see it featured in political ads for a long time. Mamdani appears sincere and committed, and his win is impressive, but before the left fully embraces a broad progressive agenda, it's worth considering the perspective of another major winner from last Tuesday. Virginia Governor-elect Abigail Spanberger, who previously warned that if the party didn't shift toward the center it would face serious challenges, and advised avoiding terms like socialist or socialism, creating a very clear contrast between one wing urging moderation and the other proudly identifying as democratic socialists, making the party's choice obvious, though the question of who is ultimately right might not require much guesswork. In 2024, evidence showed that 13 Democrats won in districts Trump carried, and all of them were moderates, which supports what left-leaning think tanks concluded in their post-election analyses. Democrats win when they move toward the center, a point echoed even by the New York Times, which noted the party drifted too far left on social issues after the Obama era. Meanwhile, younger generations often feel capitalism hasn't worked for them after all. If you're around 30 and still sharing a bathroom and labeling your food in the fridge, frustration with the system is understandable, yet turning to socialism carries its own risks, as history has repeatedly shown mixed or negative outcomes, evident in comparisons such as South Korea and North Korea, or Poland's economic rise after embracing market reforms versus Venezuela's decline after shifting toward state-controlled policies. Believing a city like New York can defy those patterns is unrealistic, and expecting any single political figure to fulfill sweeping economic wishes is equally unrealistic, because democratic socialism often promises appealing ideas on the surface, but its results tend to look different when put into practice. Bernie Sanders often champions single-payer health care for the entire country, yet when Vermont, one of the most liberal states in America, attempted it for just over 600,000 residents, the plan collapsed, illustrating how ideas that sound simple in theory can struggle in practice. Bernie, Ayok, and Mamdani describe themselves not as traditional Democrats but as democratic socialists, a distinction many voters still don't fully recognize, especially since the U.S. already incorporates elements of social welfare such as Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, unemployment insurance, food assistance, veterans benefits, Pell Grants, farm subsidies, disability payments, mortgage agencies, and even corporate bailouts, all of which help soften the challenges of capitalism. Yet the DSA pushes a far more expansive and radical approach that often pairs ambitious economic ideas with equally far-reaching social policies, such as advocating fully open borders, which may be difficult to sell in national elections at a time when many Americans simply want both parties to act reasonably. The public is exhausted by extremes, whether it's calls to defund the police or demands for heavy militarization, and people want leaders who offer stability rather than ideological experiments, which is why figures like Governor-elect Spanberger emphasize that voters chose Biden to be steady and normal rather than transformative, while some progressive spaces, such as recent DSA conventions, still maintain strict pandemic-era requirements or unconventional rules like replacing applause with silent gestures, reinforcing the disconnect between highly activist circles and the broader electorate. At a recent DSA convention, delegates were even asked to use silent gestures instead of clapping to avoid sensory overload, and they were also instructed not to wear strong fragrances because such scents might be difficult for some attendees, which raises the question of whether this is really the direction Democrats want to follow. Chuck Schumer may not be perfect, but at least he doesn't fall apart when someone walks by wearing Chanel No. 5, and moments like these highlight the widening gap between activist subcultures and the broader public, which simply wants political leaders who can function normally without elaborate environmental accommodations. So, with that, you may now clap in the traditional way.